Hello guys, welcome to my newest video. My name is Professor Forrest and today I will talk about the best Grace builds in patch 13.18. Hopefully Riot won't change any of his items until the end of the year because next year they will remove mythics. But don't worry, I will keep you updated with the new builds as well. In this video I will talk about each mythic, even about Eclipse and Divine, so make sure to watch this video until the end. You will have the timestamps as well so you can check out any builds or rune setup you are looking for. So let's start with Ghostblade build, and I'm sure everyone is familiar with this by now. So your core build will be Ghostblade, Collector and Black Cleaver. You can skip Collector if the enemy team has Bruisers who got fed early or they have tank. I'm saying this because this is a build you can use in every game. So if you are enjoying the gameplay of this build, don't feel the need to play any other build version. You can finish your build with Shield Bow, but if you need more pan, then Sariedas is an amazing item with this setup. Mortal Reminder if you need anti-healing, or Bloodthirster if you need more damage and a little bit more sustain. Your rune setup, as you can see on your screen, is going to be Fleet setup with Domination secondary. You can take Sudden Impact or Treasure Hunter with Eyeball. It doesn't really make any difference. I prefer Treasure Hunter even though it was nerfed because it still helps me get my Dirk Spikes sooner. For your jungle pet, I recommend taking blue or green. Rest might also works, but I find the movement speed or shield more valuable than the extra damage. But all three jungle pets work really well and you can pick any of them as your preference, not just for the Ghostblade build but also for any other build I will be talking about in this video. My second S tier build recommendation is with Trinity Force. So your core build, as you can see on your screen, is Trinity Force, Black Cleaver, then Stellax Gauge. If your laners can fight early, as you can see in the second core build recommendation, you should buy Dirk, then buy Trinity Force into Collector and Black Cleaver. You will still buy Stellax as your fourth item, and sometimes if the enemy team is squishy and I don't need the pan, I will go for Stellax third. I like this setup the most because it gives me some early strength. Even though I'm delaying my Trinity Force, it is worth it if you can look for early fight. The biggest weakness of Trinity Force is that you are pretty weak until you finish your item, but Dirk helps with that and I can be a little bit more aggressive even when I'm going for a Bruiser build. My end item recommendations are Frozen Heart and Spirit Visage, but you have a few other options as well. As you can see, it just depends on what else you need. I usually don't feel that after the 3 core items I need any more damage, so I just build defensive items. Your rune setup will be Fleet with Inspiration second, and after the Futures Market nerf, you should go with Cosmic Insight. My third build is Gold Drinker, and I wasn't sure at first I should put this build into S tier or just A tier. But don't get me wrong, that doesn't mean the build is not strong. It's just slightly weaker than the builds I mentioned so far. The reason why I think this build should be A tier, just like the crit build, is because you can go with this build each game. So you will be building Emerald Grave, Gold Drinker, Black Cleaver, and then Stellax Gauge. For your end items, you can buy Sojin and Sariedas. You should sell the Emerald Grave in the late game and look to get Frozen Heart. You can do that even sooner if you don't need the extra pan or damage because you will have mana problems with this build. And the reason why you can go this build every game is because you need at least 3 champs in the enemy team for those Gold Drinker procs and massive healing. If you wish to know more about each Grace build and how I decide to build each game more in depth, make sure to drop a like and subscribe because I will release a more in-depth guide for that soon. Now for your rune page, I recommend taking Fleet and you can skip Emerald if you wish, in which case you will take Inspiration second. If you want to go Emerald, then you need Domination second for your zombie ward. Now I will talk about crit graves, and for this I will have a lot of build variations to talk about. So the first variation you should go pretty much every game when you are going crit is Stormraiser, Black Cleaver, Infinity Edge. This is great when the enemy team has some frontline but also some range carries, and a little bit of extra HP from Black Cleaver is always helpful and needed. The second variation is when you don't need the pen but some defensive stats are needed. So you will change the Black Cleaver to Shield Bow. But this build is weaker than the S tier builds because Crit Graves is all about hitting those pellets. And if you are against a lot of ranged champions, you might struggle to attack them, so this build is better when they have mostly melee but squishy champions. Against tanks, this build works great as well when you want to carry and hit those big critical damages to shred the tanks. For your end items, you can buy items like Rapid Fire, Bloodthirster, or even Guardian Angel. For your general setup, you will always go with Fleet and Inspiration trees. In the A tier, I had to talk about one more item, and that is the Stridebreaker. So this item is basically a weaker version of Trinity Force and a version of Gold Drinker, but against range champions. The reason why I'm saying this is because Trinity Starax is such a strong item combo. If that item combo didn't exist, I would say Stridebreaker is better. The reason why I'm saying it's a variation of Gold Drinker is because when the enemy team has a lot of range champions, you'll benefit a lot from the items active. So this can be a good alternative when the enemy team has a lot of range champs, and for some reason you don't enjoy going Trinity or Ghostblade. And Gold Drinker is not as good in that game. For your other items, you will go with the same items as with the Gold Drinker build, and you can go even with Umbral, but don't forget to take Domination then as your secondary tree. Next are the B tier items, and here we have Duskblade and Gale Force. I won't go into too much details about these builds because I find them weaker compared to the mythics I mentioned earlier. But if you decide to go with Duskblade, you will get the same items as with Ghostblade, and you should also take the same rune setup as well. Whenever you take Gale Force, your build once again is the same as with Crit Graves, you just change Infinity Edge to Gale Force. Infinity Edge is the strongest late game item when you have other crit items, and because with crit build you are playing late game anyways, I see no point in going Gale Force instead, which has a huge cooldown as well. But if you decide to go with Gale Force, in secondary rune, go with Domination and take Ingenious Hunter and Sudden Impact or Eyeball. Our final list is the D tier items, and you should avoid building these items on Graves because they are way weaker than any items mentioned earlier. These are Eclipse, Navary, and Divine. Eclipse is just a weaker version of Ghostblade and Duskblade since they removed the Omnivan from the item. Navary is useless on Graves because whenever he is building crit, his main damage comes from his auto attacks, so having his pass back sooner doesn't really matter, and building the item just so he has his E sooner is not worth it either. Divine would be comparable if it didn't have a range penalty, and it could be a great alternative to 3D Force, but because of that, it's not even close in stats, and you should avoid building this item. People tried Divine on Graves when Trinity wasn't as good as it is now, but since they changed it, you have better options. So this was my guide for Graves Jungle, and you can use these builds for lanes as well. I hope you found this helpful and see you all in my next video.